Good morning, everyone. KSBY meteorologist Dave Hovde. Going to give it a few seconds here for folks to get on board. This is also going to be recorded so that we can turn around and show you this at ksby.com and get all the information out so people are ready for what's going to happen today. I happen to be looking outside of my window here in North County and the sun is out. But if we look at that satellite picture, you can see that big comma-shaped storm on the left-hand side of your picture. It is producing some lightning. It is very strong looking on the satellite. But interestingly today, the models are not as big on the total rainfall. That being said, those are the morning model runs, and at this point, I don't think we're going to back away from this forecast. So we're going to let a few more people jump on board here before we start getting into all of the details. But yeah, this is a big storm again. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you here this morning on the Facebook fan page. Appreciate all of you. And again, if you have friends who are interested in the storm, make sure they get over to Facebook and my at TV Dave on X and give me a follow. I'll be posting more updates today. I am working today, so I'll be heading in this afternoon, and we'll get you everything you need to know about the coming storm. So good morning. I see we have a good group in here, so let's get started and start talking about what's happening. So on the left-hand side of your screen there, you can see that classic comma shape for the storm. It is starting to move in here. Again, cannot judge the day based on just looking outside, because if you didn't have a satellite, you wouldn't know that big storm was out there, but it is huge. And it's an atmospheric river. You can see that plume of moisture that extends from the Hawaiian Islands, and it connects all the way to the Central Coast. And this is the modeling here just for the next 24 hours. You can see the low dropping toward California and focusing that moisture, especially on the South Coast and into LA. I'd say if there was a shift in this forecast, it would be to kind of move some of the heavier activity a little bit further south faster. This is our 3-kilometer morning model run, and you can see how the rain starts this afternoon into this evening, moves across the area into Monday morning, and then we start getting into the sort of this messy scattered shower activity. But let me go back here and slow this down a little bit for you. So again, right now we actually have some sunshine, but that's going to fill in pretty soon here with the surge of clouds. By this afternoon, some scattered showers begin across the area, and also with these scattered showers, some thunderstorm activity is possible, if not probable, because we're talking about a 20% chance, and it's interesting, got a comment yesterday about 20%. So you're saying there's an 80% chance of no. No, what I'm saying is there's a 20% chance that we're going to see 20% of the area seeing thunderstorms. So I do think that is something we're going to see. And that introduces higher rainfall rates, strong downpours, and you can see how we really get hammered here across the area between, say, 6 o'clock tonight through 10. This is midnight. This is 1 a.m. So it looks like the Central Coast takes the biggest lashing here on the front side of the system. But again, that's just this particular model. It does not show a lot of additional activity after Monday. However, that's not the only model out there. This is another model, and you can see how that system starts rolling in here again tonight into tomorrow. A lot of agreement there. This is where the agreement kind of starts to vary. You can see on Tuesday, LA really getting a lot of it. But this particular model has more of the Central Coast getting in on activity through Tuesday. It's a lower resolution model, but it does push the upper low through the Central Coast, and I do think when that happens, we're also dealing with some scattered thunderstorms. Now, these models show activity into the overnight hours, early morning hours on Wednesday before it kicks out. So I think that kind of matches up with what we've been saying. This is the Weather Prediction Center's forecast for this system. Lighter amounts inland, and that's always been the case. At the coast, it's still in the 2 to 4 inch range for most coastal valleys. But you'll notice here, you've got the 4 and 5 inch range up along the north coast and the south coast. And that purple bit in there, that is 7, well, I should say really more like 4 to 8 inches. And that's what we've been talking about for the Santa Barbara County Mountains and also the hills along the north coast. So the official forecasts have not changed. The models are backing away a little bit this morning. But again, it's really only one run of the models. I think we're going to want to see another run based on just looking at, again, let's get back to that satellite picture since we have some new people joining in here. That's a pretty good looking storm on satellite. So I think we're going to see another model run before we back away from any of the forecast watches or warnings. The key watches and warnings continue to be the aerial flood watch for the area. That is a significant advisory. There are wind advisories and warnings, and we'll get over to that in a second as well. I'm going to show you the 3-kilometer view here of how much rainfall we can see. Now, this is that run that showed more activity for the south coast. Now, this is just for the beginning of the system. Doesn't even take us all the way through the totality of it. Shows the central coast of having anywhere between the lighter amounts inland, again, that we expect, with most of the central coast seeing, say, 1 inch to 2 inches, with the south coast seeing 2 to 6 plus inches of rain. Even though this is less for the central coast, this is in line with some of our concerns for the south coast. So again, when we talk about models having maybe a little different view today, it might just be where the main impact is. But I would say that we're still talking about those higher rainfall totals. And again, in this particular model, we're talking about it in the most sensitive area where we have that evacuation warning for parts of Santa Barbara County. Need to get into some of this as well. Thunderstorm outlook. Today, yes, absolutely. There is some slight chance of some thunderstorms, and that continues tomorrow and on Tuesday. And again, that all introduces that possibility of having higher rainfall and higher rainfall rates, 1/2 inch to 1 inch per hour at times. Excessive rainfall outlook has been expanded to include the central coast today in the moderate. That means 40 to 70% that some excessive rainfall will happen. So that's why we have that flood watch. This is for Monday. Shifts a little to the south. Again, I think that's very much in line with what the models are saying this morning. And then on Tuesday it continues. I think some assessment is being made here that yes, some excessive rainfall. It's more of a broad brush because I don't think there's a lot of agreement as to what the upper low does on Tuesday. But we're going to be very saturated by then, so I think that's going to be an issue. Coastal flood advisory. So we're going to have some high tides along with big waves, and that's going to push water into some places we don't typically see it. And so that's actually already in place, and it will go into Tuesday morning. Additionally, we have the high surf advisory, 15 to 20 feet, with dangerous conditions for the central coast and 6 to 10 feet for the channel. Okay, we do have wind advisory for most of the area with wind warnings in the mountains. I will show you more information on that. But you can see that we're going to see those winds start to pick up. Not really that much now, but these are wind gusts. By the time we get into the overnight and into Monday, we've got that 20 to 40 mile per hour wind regime with us. Now, interestingly, again, some of the models today are backing off a little bit, and that does include some of the wind potential here. I'm going to show you one other model outlook, just show you just how much variability there is here. This is the GFS model this morning. It's backing away the big totals, but again, it's a lower resolution model. I think we can kind of throw it out actually a little bit at this point. So beyond this, when we start looking toward the end of the month in early March, there are still some rain opportunities in the forecast. One thing I do want to show you here is there's another system right behind the first system. It's pretty fascinating, actually. So you can see the first system coming through, giving us the rainfall later today, Monday, and into Tuesday. See that other system spinning off the coast? Looks pretty big, right? Looks like it's going to stay off the coast and spin out of the area. That could change, but models have been fairly consistent with that. That's a good thing because that's also a fairly big system should that hit the central coast. On top of what we're talking about, it would be pretty significant here. So I'm going to head over and show you. That's not the one I wanted. Excuse me. This is what I wanted. I'm going to move this over. Let's talk a little bit about information today, how you can get it. So obviously, what I'm talking about here will be posted. It will be added to the article. But I do post a lot of little updates over on this fan page. So if you're watching, you're already signed up, and on X. So there's some reason to monitor rivers. The narrows of the Santinez River near Lompoc. This particular post on the fan page describes where that is and gets you the latest information there. We're going to be updating the rainfall totals as they go along. There are links to San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara County rainfall maps. This is a map from the Weather Service talking about peak wind gusts and high wind watches and warnings in place. This is a post about the thunderstorm possibilities, 10 to 20% chance. Again, this is a post about the river flood potential, and we're watching Santa Maria as well for monitoring stage, not for flooding. We do think that there will be some significant water into the system, so there's some places that we're watching there. Precipitation and timing, great map that the Weather Service does. It just talks about key times. That's available on both the article and on my social media. This is the Weather Service's outlook for rainfall. And again, I think it very much fits in with what I showed you earlier. Inland amounts, probably shy of an inch to an inch. Most of the Central Coast will be in the median of, I'm going to say 1 to 4 inches of rain for coastal valleys. The North Coast here, Cambria, it has 5 inches with up to 10 in places like Rocky Butte. Again, models are a little more iffy on this, but they're not iffy on this down here in the Santa Barbara area into the mountains, where they've got 4 to 8 inches in the mountains with Santa Barbara getting hit pretty hard. I think that's still a pretty good outlook there. This is a story KSBY did about the evacuation warnings issued for parts of the South Coast. So highly encourage you to check that out if you are in that area. Okay, this is the wind warning map. This is the high wind warning. Okay, that is from 10 p.m. tonight to 10 a.m. Monday. Every area here in gold. So that is the hills of the North Coast. This is the La Panza Wilderness and the mountains of San Luis Obispo County and the mountains of Santa Barbara County for the high wind warning. Additionally, there's a wind advisory, all the area here in the tan color, and that starts at 7 o'clock tonight. And that goes until 10 a.m. on Monday. And by the way, these maps here and the information comes from the KSBY Microclimate Weather app. The flood watch, we covered that, and some of the other information. So what we're going to do here, just going to spend one second talking about, let's see if we can get this to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. Spend 1 second here reviewing before we call it a day here. And again, thank you all for spending a little time tuning in this morning to this unorganized, off-the-hip update. So here you go. Our storm system is out there. That's the big comma shape. It is producing some lightning, so there's satellite detection of lightning. So this is a strong storm. It is an atmospheric river storm, meaning it has a lot of water vapor to work with, and the modeling shows that water vapor getting aimed at the Central Coast. On a scale of 1 to 5, it's a 1. Which is interesting. It's a slow-moving storm, though, so it's going to be around long enough to produce quite a bit of rain. This afternoon, evening, overnight, into Monday morning, heaviest rainfall for the Central Coast. This particular model doesn't keep it going all that much Monday into Tuesday, but other models have slightly different viewpoints in terms of how bad Monday and Tuesday will be. This model is curiously quiet in that time frame. This one is not. You can see the rainfall really getting focused on Ventura and Los Angeles County on Tuesday, but does show much more rain activity coming through the area on Tuesday. So the high resolution model I think is really good on arrival time and intensity today. I think the question is, what does it do on Tuesday? And again, the rainfall amounts. There is some softness in the certainty today. I still like this, though. The interior at about an inch. Most of the Central Coast somewhere between 2 and 4, with the South Coast about 5. The North Coast could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, with the hills seeing anywhere from 4 to 8, and 4 to 8 in the hills above Santa Barbara, with most of the South Coast seeing 4 to 5. I still think that's a pretty good outlook. Flood watch in place until we're done with this. This is that high resolution modeling. Again, there's some difference here between this and the Weather Prediction Center's model. But I do think there's heavy agreement on the South Coast for rainfall, disagreement about the North Coast, but I don't think there's any reason to back away from the forecast and the preparation that we've been talking about. Thunderstorm outlook, it's there today, Monday and Tuesday. It's not high probability, not expected to be severe, but again, it introduces higher rainfall rates, hail, water spouts, high winds, that sort of thing. Brief tornadoes. Again, we saw that last week. We know it's possible. Excessive rainfall. This is from Weather Prediction Center. Moderate today, Monday for the South Coast, and Tuesday it still continues. We have other advisories. We've just marched through the wind advisories. That all those wind advisories and warnings start tonight. The high surf is already here, 15 to 20 feet for the Central Coast. Into Tuesday, 6 to 10 feet in the channel, and the coastal flood advisory. So thanks, folks, for tuning in this morning to this discussion about the forecast. I will be working today, so I'll head in this afternoon to KSBY. I'll provide more updates. If you're curious about updates right now, we're working off the same story that I've had on the website since Friday. I'm going to rework that story. I think I'm going to keep the link going and just add at the top. But I am going to get in there and start editing some of the older material out. That will happen later today. I will add some new information at the top, including this video clip. So we'll work off the same story at least for a while here. I might change that out later. If I do, I will let you know on social media posts. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate you. I'm going to check the comments real quick before we get out of the area. Good morning to all of you. Some really nice comments in there. Thank you very much. John McKinney asks, is the wind gust going to be as bad as last storm? No, it won't. We're not expecting wind gusts of 70 and 80. We're not expecting that. Yeah, sunny in Cayucas. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really sunny right now. But again, current conditions don't have anything to do with the future forecast. There you go. Thanks. Do we have more chances of rain later? Yes, Sharon. The extended forecast outside of this week does suggest that maybe we get something at the end of the month or into early March. But the important thing is after the system departs, that other storm we showed you on the GFS model looks like it stays off the coast. So no matter what happens, looks like we might have enough opportunity here to at least move the water out. And again, some of the key concerns about the area continue to be the fact that the reservoirs are currently full. And full reservoirs at Whale Rock and also at Lopez means some spilling is possible as well. So that's just some of the activity that we are monitoring today as well. Okay, folks, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Best way to stay safe is to share the information. And again, don't let the sunny weather this morning fool you. It's going to change.